Yes, guys, welcome back to the Cannon Podcast, and let's have a debate. Another one. The last one was, of course, Arsenal's top 10 signings, which, of course, you can check out. But this one is, I reckon, a bit more intriguing because, I mean, the ending's going to be fantastic, but the start of it as well, it is the top 10 managers in the Premier League era of all time from 1992 onwards. And look, I don't want to mess about too much because I know this will be a long debate and it might get a bit feisty. So let's get straight into this, lads. There's no how we doing it, straight into it. Who is number 10 greatest manager in Premier League history? We'll go to Alex first since he's the most excited.
Okay. I've gone a little bit rogue with a few of these, and we should also say at the very end we're going to try and agree on a list. So this is our first offerings of number 10. I've gone for Roberto Mancini. So I think I'm right in saying that there is only 11 managers who won the Prem. So Ferguson, Pep, Mourinho, Wenger, Ancelotti. That's 5. Conte, Dalglish, Klopp, Mancini, Pellegrini. That's another 5. And then Ranieri. Yeah, so 11 managers, right? So there are some on my list who haven't won the Premier League. But I think with Mancini, the fact he did win the Premier League, the fact that it was such a big moment when, for me, that is such a big power shift in the Premier League era, moving away from the Manchester United era. I wonder how much it sort of dictates when Ferguson leaves. I wonder how it dictates the Man City project. So maybe it's less about Mancini, who I think is a fantastic coach. Is he a way better coach than maybe some other managers who couldn't have been here? Maybe not. But I think the seismic effect of that Premier League and the way they won it as well puts him in a top 10 Premier League managers of all time as well. And I liked his teams. His teams were really nice as well. I think because what happened with Pep has happened and what happened with Man City has happened, we kind of look back on that Pellegrini sort of Mancini era and kind of sneer it a little bit. They were at the top of the table, and they were good. And Man City were really good. I'll go Mancini at number 10.
George, go on.
No, I definitely have one different, but my logic for it was I kind of ordered my top in terms of trophies, in a sense. So if I have only one person here that I don't think won the Premier League, really, and so that's what I thought. Number 10.
I don't think that should prohibit you. I think you could be a top 10 Premier League manager without winning the Premier League, personally.
Yeah, I mean there are obviously names that we'll come to, but the thing is, right, number 10. I was thinking, and I'm still changing. I'm going to go for consistency because I don't think he'll crack into the top 9. But someone that's always basically been there. His teams have always been decent. I'm going to go for David Moyes.
He's on my list. He's on my list as well.
I think now, for me, I value achievements as much, and Moyes doesn't have a standout Premier League achievement. But just for the consistency alone, we talk about players, people like Big Sam and stuff, but Moyes is just always there. He's always, you know what to get from him. I know West Ham fans are a bit annoyed after that 6-0 victory, which we didn't celebrate. 6-0, by the way.
Can I just say on the West Ham thing?
David Moyes.
Sorry. Can I say, I think that is mental. West Ham, he is their most successful manager ever.
Yeah.
In terms of European consistency, in terms of obviously winning the trophy. And
very consistent as well, by the way. We're not talking just one campaign. He was very consistent. That was a build-up for many years.
Well, I was listening to a podcast yesterday. When he arrived, they had one youth scout. And now they have one of the best academies in the country. David Moyes, it's not just the first team. He's a fantastic manager. And the years he's had at Everton as well. I've got him higher on my list.
Okay.
I have him literally 9th. So I'm happy to have the debate now. The person that I have 10th, I'll just take it, is Martin O'Neill. He was one of the grafters for me, in a sense, that I think did brilliantly with what he got in terms of just some pure kind of records, essentially. I think he really maximized the use of his squad. I look at the Villa teams that he managed, and I think that, what he did getting those teams up into the top half, and of course his record in cup competitions was pretty incredible for the time. So I think that's kind of why I have, Martin O'Neill as one of the grafters in there, and I have David Moyes a little bit higher because I felt like he did a bit better under that regard. Still not necessarily winning trophies, but I still think as a manager, he's been able to maximize what he's been given the most without necessarily winning something. So that for me has to fall in the 10th to 9th conversation.
I think it's intriguing because I think in terms of grafters, right, we're talking not winners, they're grafters. I've got 2 on my list. Moyes is 1. So I've definitely got a lot of massive win. I think the top 5 will pick itself, or the top 5 will pick itself. But from 6 to 10, this is a real debate. I'm gonna quickly say my number 9 here because I don't know if it's close here, but I've got Ranieri. Mainly because of that achievement for Leicester, that's massive. I could probably put him higher than that, but I think the teams that have won titles above him have obviously had really good teams. But to win a title with Leicester, I still can't. It still annoys me to this day. Like it's like Leicester won a title. Like we haven't won it since obviously 2003 or 4, and I'm like Leicester. And I've been Leicester quite a few times, and to see them win a title out of nowhere with Robert Huth as a centre back and Nathan Dyer off the bench and Okazaki scoring bicycle kicks. Like, listen, it's a streets won't forget moment. So I'm willing to put Moyes 10 and Ranieri 9, unless he's really high for you guys.
I've got Moyes 9. I've got Ranieri higher. I think it's beyond the streets won't forget moment. It's one of the greatest sports stories. And
but how much of that do you put down to the manager? I'm not trying to say he wasn't a part of it. Of course, he was a massive part. But that season itself, how much do you put it down to the quality of the manager?
You have to. He's a factor.
I'm not saying he's not. But how much? Like you think?
It
was a managerial thing or more?
I think it's more the players.
It's got to be both.
I didn't see it was necessarily
Kante,
a
Mahrez,
particular
Vardy.
tactic that got them out of trouble. I look at what Vardy, Conte, and
that's the point.
Mahrez did, and they were just simply the best players in the Premier League at that point, seriously garnering points where, to a season, let's have it right, was fairly uncontested for the most part. There was a lot of teams that were very poor. We did our best up until February, then fell apart, and then Tottenham had their period to kind of challenge. But I don't think it was a particularly strong year of the Premier League. Not to take it away, it's still an unbelievable achievement. But I didn't look at that season and say Ranieri for me was doing something different to all the managers. I just felt that Vardy and Mahrez and Conte were doing something different to every single team, and that team got ripped apart in terms of quality-wise. And so, I struggled to put Ranieri there because of it. For me, if we're doing the top Premier League managers, there has to be a little bit more emphasis on their coaching ability to coach up a team, to coach up and take them to a different level, which is maybe harsh because you can't sit there and say, he's not part of a Leicester winning season.
Yeah, of course, he's coach, and of course he was in the Prem before Chelsea as well. Not very successful, but he was there, so he's got some resume there. But he was sacked the year after winning the title, which is still crazy, by the way. They sacked him of the less than a season of winning a title. Leicester, by the way, which now they're in the Championships. All that. I'm thinking Moyes 10 for me. Moyes is like locked in at 10, unless Alex has got him way higher.
I could put Moyes at 10.
Let's put him 10 for now. Let's not
the end
worry
of
about
the
too much on
trophy
number 10.
Because I want to try it.
No, there's one more that has to get in the list.
Okay, because
I'm sorry, he has to get in the list, like just for the vibes.
I'm going to make a point on Martin O'Neill because I just kind of put him in passing. But if you actually look at some of the records, I think it gets marred by his last kind of history of management. Because when he started, guys, you look at him reaching 3 League Cup finals, winning 2. Then he won subsequently 7 trophies with Celtic. He reached a UEFA Cup final. He was talked about replacing or succeeding Sir Alex Ferguson. But then he went to Villa and did 6th place finishes in his last 3 seasons. And then he had a poor spell. I think he's probably somebody for me that doesn't get the credit that he deserves. And, he is somebody that's won with teams that had no business winning. But I just think what he did with Leicester City, transforming them from basically a B-rate squad to secure top 10 finishes in the Premier League is something that's, at least from a longitudinal standpoint, was worth mentioning because he's been here for a long time. He's had success, and he's brought teams up that had no business being successful. So he was one of mine.
Yep.
Are you having him over Ranieri?
Not over Ranieri, but I'd have him as one of the grafters, if I had to say.
Well, he's not anywhere near my list. I mean, he deserves a shout, but he's not near my list. So I don't think he gets on the list just from 2 people alone there. I reckon we'll put Moyes in 10 for
I'm
now.
okay with that. He was my 9.
And I'll put 9. Okay. Ranieri, I'd say, fits in there nicely for me as well. Unless you guys have him way higher, in which case we can debate it.
I had him at 7th. I could take Ranieri here
so it's
for
close
now.
enough. Let's keep 9 for now. We'll change it back.
Okay, so, yeah.
Who's your number 8, Alex? Because this is where it gets really intriguing.
Yeah, okay. I've gone for Carlo Ancelotti.
Ooh,
I think Carlo Ancelotti obviously hasn't had his best years in the Premier League.
He had the record with Chelsea for points, didn't he? In his season that he won it, wasn't it the most goals scored for Chelsea?
Yes, but no one looks back on Carlo Ancelotti's career and goes, his glittering highlight was his season with Chelsea. Yeah, he came in and had a fantastic season with Chelsea in 09-10, but and did really well. But then obviously I think what we think of Ancelotti as is really the Real Madrid manager. I certainly think of him as that now in a kind of
well, even what he did with Everton too was phenomenal in terms of the squad. Like, I mean, I agree with you. His career is probably looked at in general as an excellent, but I think for him, he's made a record, at least in a top 6 club. He didn't just win the Premier League without impacting it as one of the most successful attacking seasons that they've had, right? Like, he's got a record in addition to the Premier League. So I don't have him much higher, to be honest with you. So I'm not upset if we were to put him here, but I think he had a better career in the Premier League than people think.
Yeah, better. My point was only to say that I think people don't necessarily associate him with the Premier League, but I think I stand by what you say. I think he had a great season with Chelsea. He also had the season at Everton, which I agree he was doing. I think Everton were as high as they weren't being talked about for a title, but they were certainly being talked about for Champions League places. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they were being talked about for Champions League places. Yeah. Certainly at one point. And
it was COVID, didn't count.
Yeah. And when you look at what's happened at Everton since, the mess that he must have been working under, I think it's a decent shout. Look, Ancelotti's won the Premier League, and I think if you win the Premier League, you're on the list. The question is where.
Because he set the record.
I've got no Carlo. I'm replacing Carlo with someone else though. I've got another ex-Chelsea manager.
Who?
Conte.
I had that order
because he had that year at. He had that year at Spurs as well, which, look, I know it was annoying for us as Arsenal fans, but he got top 4. And for Spurs at that time, and that was their parade. That was their... I mean, that is the peak there, isn't it, of their project. And also the league title team that won Chelsea, I think he had a crazy winning streak.
Yeah,
of something like 14, 15. And he also had like 90-plus points as well. That's a high-quality team. Victor Moses playing as a wing-back and Costa and Fabregas. So I would have Carlo on the list. I wouldn't mind it. But I think Conte, because he's also had that other stint at Spurs, which of course got sacked in eventually, but still got them the ambition for that first season.
The reason I put Ancelotti ahead of Conte was purely for having an additional record in how he's won the Premier League. I have them literally, 8th and 7th back to back. And the only reason that Ancelotti has a mark ahead of me is because, again, in 09, it wasn't even just a Chelsea thing. He set the record for the most goals scored in a single season in the history of the competition. Then, it was 103. And then he also won the FA Cup that season, and they celebrated their first ever domestic double as a team. Then the following season, he gets runner-up, and then he leaves. And, of course, he's been successful everywhere. And then he has that stint at Everton. And I look at Antonio Conte, who I think both you could argue are coaches that have won with coaching the Premier League. One simply added a record in the Premier League that stands alone, and stands alone for Chelsea as well. Conte doesn't do that for Chelsea, but he definitely wins it.
Are we saying then...
I know this isn't scientific, but the vibes for Conte, man. Like, I know you but that's for my list personally. Conte's over Ancelotti because
he's had more iconic moments, I say.
Yeah, this is another thing. Is like I think that is part of being the greatest Premier League manager is the moments as well, like the handshake with Tuchel, the Tottenham rant. Ancelotti just raises.
Do you know that Ancelotti's win percentage at Chelsea, though?
And also, he deserves to be in the list.
Yeah, stats, facts, George, we get it. But come on, the vibes with Conte.
Mate, are we clocking it? It was the win percentage at Chelsea in that season. Not only was it the most goals scored, it was the 3rd highest win percentage in Premier League history, behind Mourinho and Ferguson. Yeah. So it wasn't just the record of goals scored; his actual win percentage of that Premier League was the 3rd highest in the competition. It's got to count. Like, I feel like some of that has to count for something.
No one talks about our team though, George. And there must be a reason why. Like, no one talks about, do you know the year that Chelsea won the league title? Because there must have been something there. I didn't watch it personally, but 9-10, no one talks about the fact that Chelsea won the league title.
They were one of the most Samsung logo and all that stuff that the Premier League has seen.
I'm pretty sure they scored 8 goals in one game or something like that towards the end of the season.
I've never seen George so passionate about anything.
No, it's just because...
I mean, you should have seen what Declan Rice.
Just to win a domestic double for Chelsea, which started their reign.
Okay, look, we'll finalise on this, right? Number 8 for now, and it's a flat out debate of Conte versus Ancelotti.
Host right.
Right.
What do you want?
So
I'm saying Conte, George saying Ancelotti.
I'm putting Conte and Alex says Conte. So George, hold that. 7.
Well, no, but surely Ancelotti would go below.
So you want to
Conte.
move Moyes out and put...
No, so I'm saying 10 Moyes,
Get Moyes out.
9
Moyes out.
Ranieri, 8 Ancelotti,
No,
7
Moyes is on the
Conte.
list. Moyes is on the list just because of the Andy Tate rant. Moyes there, biggest fool in Manchester. He has to get on. He has to. I'm sorry.
He's on there. I did say that. He's on.
So you got. So no wait. So you're moving Conte at 8.
So we got 10 Moyes, 9
Yes.
Ranieri, 8 Ancelotti, 7 Conte.
Oh, but then someone has to go out then for above that, because I've still got Mancini to come at 7.
I've got
And
Mancini.
I'll
I've
put
got
Mancini over Conte because people forget the quality of that team.
Mancini
over
over
No, I don't think
Conte.
it can go over Conte. Like, if you're really going to do it,
No, I'll put Mancini over Conte. I'm sorry, I will, and I say that because the iconic moment. Like, there is no other moment I can think of in Premier League history that matches that.
but is that
moment.
Aguero or is that
Mancini
is
was
that
a massive part of that. No, but Mancini was a massive part of that. That team had like 80
was a
something,
brilliant
90
coach.
points. It was a very, very good team. And it was their first league title as well. And if you don't get that first league title, you know, it could take a little bit longer. So, iconic moment, he's got it. And then, you talk about the Aguero moment, you can see Mancini on the side with the scarf and all that type of stuff. Like, I would put that season as well, when they won the league title, the quality of that team, I'd put Mancini's team over Conte's.
I'm already seeing the argument of Ancelotti over Conte. I would put Conte above Ancelotti. So then I don't think we could put Mancini over.
Where would you put
Ancelotti and
Mancini in?
Conte.
Because if he's not in
He's below
7, 8,
he's below
9, 10,
he's below Ancelotti and Conte for me.
so then someone has to go out and you put Moyes
I'm
out.
okay with that.
not
I'm
putting
not
Moyes
comfortable
out.
with putting Ancelotti below Mancini and Conte in our Premier League managers.
Because then you'd have to bump Conte up to 6.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
No, we're not okay with that. No, we're not okay with that because again, there's someone that's really big gonna miss out.
Let's place it for now. We can move on.
All right, so 10 Moyes, 9 Ranieri, 8 Ancelotti, 7 Conte. Oh, sorry, you put Mancini under Conte? Or below both?
I would like to suggest 10 Moyes, 9 Ranieri, 8 Mancini, 7 Ancelotti, 6 Conte.
So who's at your number 5?
Okay.
For me, number 5.
No. This is not gonna work because the biggest graft that I had was at number 6, right? He's a big person. His name's Big Sam.
He's not in this.
So you're
No.
telling me Big Sam is because then you got to swap Moyes out from Big Sam because Big
Big
Sam.
Sam, in terms of Prem legends.
No, but I'm talking about Premier League consistency.
No,
The
yeah,
amount
I'm
of
agreeing.
teams he saved from relegation. Think about it. He had apart
Yeah,
from
but
West
all of
Brom, I'm
these-
pretty sure it was
all-
like, and now Leeds.
But surely
So,
grafters can't just be people that saved relegation.
and don't forget about Big Sam's Bolton Wanderers. That's a very underrated team.
Yeah,
JJ
that's a
Okocha.
shout.
JJ
That is a
Okocha,
shout.
even at West Ham, he was pretty good, consistent. You know, we're talking about recently. Yeah, he's been a bit of a meme after the Leeds United stint and then, you know, West Brom. But before that, every time he'd go to a club, they would stay up. He would stay up.
No.
Big Sam with a Mancini, Conte, Ancelotti, Big Sam. Because Premier League, we're talking about consistency.
I'm talking
Consistency.
about the
We're not talking about
ability
one
of these
season.
coaches.
Because Mancini had 2 years and he's bounced. Conte had 2 years and he's bounced.
I'm
Big
hearing-
Sam has been there from
Man is quoting
day one.
JJ
Big Sam has
like
been
one of my
there.
favorite players, but like Big Sam is not responsible for JJ Okocha.
And I'm not
Get
saying,
Neil
by the way, he's a
Warnock on
higher
there.
quality manager, but we
Enjoy
at
it,
one
but
point,
enjoy it while being disciplined.
because our top 5 for me is guaranteed. There's 5 managers we don't
course.
talk about. And it's like, so I'm not putting Big Sam in top 5. I would have put him at 6. That's why I would have
Big
put him
Sam in
higher.
6th.
Because I wanted to change up. I would have gone winner, and gone right. I need to give the little man.
if you're
praise as well.
watching
He's
this
not
on
little, but-
YouTube, cook this man.
There's
This man
nothing
wanted to
cook
put
me
Big
about, bro.
Sam at
I'm respecting
6th
a Premier
in
League
the Premier League all time.
Sam's got it right. Solid consistency.
If you're talking
from
about
6th to
that,
10th,
why
by the
don't
way,
you
like-
have Harry Redknapp at a similar level who hasn't won anything, done better?
Because Harry Redknapp didn't save as many teams. Like Big Sam was one of those guys that.
Surely it's
I'm
better to
talking
be
about
higher in the
Premier League.
table.
Obviously, you got 2 sides to each table. Of course, it is. I'd say Redknapp's a high quality manager, but Big Sam's just got more moments for me, and he saved so many teams that it was like he's an iconic part of
He's
Premier League
funny.
history.
Yeah, to be fair,
That's what he is.
I don't agree with you, Bhavs, but the thing I do agree with is I personally love the vibes of like Big Sam. He's a big character in the Premier League's
Isn't the
kind
quality?
of era.
Isn't the
So-
debate like the best managers?
No. No, but to be fair, George, I know what you mean. But for me, being the best Premier League manager, yes, obviously should be mainly quality. But if it's equal, vibes and moments do edge it a little bit. The only place I'd consider putting Big Sam in is at number 10, but I'd be very uncomfortable taking Moisey out.
Ooh, I would put Big Sam over Moyes just because of. I'm talking about iconic. People just talking about.
I'm gonna go
in
with
10 years'
Alex.
time,
I
you're gonna
can't
have
like
more.
quality wise.
Respect Big Sam.
I won't.
Hey, if you don't respect Big Sam will make you Little Sam.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean?
God.
He's a big guy.
Yeah,
He's a big guy.
He'll sit on me.
We'll
for
come
sure.
back to it. We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it.
I don't think you want Big Sam to
put? I know
this is
that
the wrong
we
page for
can't
that.
spend a lot of time here, but I feel like I can hear the Liverpool fans yelling at us. And I had a thought of Benitez. The thing is, he wasn't successful necessarily in the Premier League, but I will say, if you're going to talk about pure numbers again that nobody wants to hear, between his time at both Chelsea and Liverpool, he won a total of 5 trophies. And I don't think he had ever had success in the Premier League as much. But of course, what he did in the Champions League in 2005 produces one of the best comebacks, arguably, of all time, of course, in Europe. But I mean, winning the Super Cup, FA Cup, Community Shield, Europa League with Chelsea, 5 trophies in his time in the Premier League, again, mainly in Europe. I feel like people will talk about it. And they will say, why isn't he there and Ranieri's there? Why is...
Yep. No, I hear that. But he's one of these.
I'm not having him over Ranieri, but I hear him. He's in the sort of outsider shout.
Quality-wise, he'd get over Moyes as well. You get over a lot.
I think we should also shout out Dalglish in this because he did win a Prem in '94. So I think he's in the outsiders. Who was the manager of
Blackburn when they won in '96?
Dalglish.
Was it? Was it '94?
'94.
Can we
number 5? Georgie boy, start us off.
Just the 10 that we have now to 5?
Okay.
Because
10 to 5, as it stands, is David Moyes at 10. Moyes. 9 is Claudio Ranieri. 8 is Roberto Mancini. 7 is Carlo Ancelotti. And 6 is Antonio Conte. Conte is way too high.
I like that list.
I'm not happy with Mancini. I want to debate between...
Big Sam should be at 6 and swap Conte for 10.
I don't know about that, but I'm not terribly happy with Conte and Mancini. Okay. I agree.
Now, we'll keep it as it is for now. And the comments will, of course, rage on.
We'll come back to it.
Now, 1 to 5, we could go straight from, who's 5th, 4th, and 3rd. I'll name you the 5 managers that I'm pretty sure is in everyone's list here. Not the order, but just in there. Klopp's there. Mourinho's there. Wenger's there. Pep's there. And
not on my list, Pep. Yeah. Not on my list.
Oh, brilliant. Alex,
ironically, I think 5th is easy. It has to be Klopp.
So 5th for me, I've got Klopp as well, I agree.
He has not won. As great as he has been in iconic and how people love him, you cannot even talk to these managers successfully. You can't. What has he won in the Premier League, respectfully, compared to these managers?
The thing is, think with Klopp's teams is like the points that he can't be looked past. I mean, he had a 97 point season. No league title. That is absolutely crazy, by the way. Right? Then he had the year after, of course.
Has he done anything that no other team hasn't done?
I do think, though, Klopp's legacy, for example, when you compare Klopp to Wenger, people go Klopp's over Wenger because he's won a Champions League. Well, this is not the Champions League podcast. It's the Premier League podcast. And off 1 league title, maybe 2 if he wins at the end of the season.
Premier League
he's got less than every single person above him. Mourinho, Wenger, Pep, Ferguson, they've all got more. Right? They've got more league titles, so they've been more successful. Right? I would argue that 3 of them, I mean, Klopp's been very consistent as well, but the other 3 have been very consistent as well. So for me, I've got Jurgen Klopp at 5th, but I know Alex is bursting to say something, so go on, get it out of the system.
Is this the hill I want to die on? That's the question. So
who's your 5?
I originally had Klopp at 4.
Okay, not far.
And Mourinho at 5.
I've got Mourinho at 4.
This is partly because I hate Mourinho so much.
I'm with you, Bhavs. I have the exact same order.
And partly because I rate Pep. I think Pep is not only number 1, he's comfortably number 1, like easily number 1 for me.
Now,
that's my hot take, right?
So where's Mikel Arteta?
Where's Big Sam? That's the question.
We have to put Arteta in somewhere, surely.
Bhavs, were you watching George when you were doing your Big Sam bit earlier? This guy was about to die.
I can't because his screen's all blurry. So it's just pixels.
It's just pure pixels. So I'm happy. I'm like not really tied to this. So if Klopp has to go in 5, because I'm much bigger on. If you win, say, 13 Premier League titles to 1, yes, we're talking different conversations. If you win 2 more or 1 more, I don't know. It doesn't matter to me massively.
Look, for me,
But
Klopp at
One
5.
title in
Yep.
7 full seasons in the Premier League does not stack.
But
Context is important 'cause-
my problem is, as I was saying earlier, with Guardiola, because I rate him so highly, to be competing with him and to get a title in the Guardiola era, for me, is more impressive than.
No, I have to.
what
I
Mourinho did.
hate him.
Here's
I
what I'm
hate
gonna
him.
say,
You
though.
have to. You have to
Do you not
defend
re-
Mourinho. I'm sorry. Hold on. He's one of only 4 coaches to have won the Premier League more
That's
than
a
once.
passionate Mourinho debate.
Okay,
Respect.
you're talking about
Back-to-back league titles as well.
icon.
So that's massive.
There is no one more iconic than Jose Mourinho in the Premier League. You're talking about moments. You're talking about story. The story that I'm hearing from the podcast, not quality.
I buy
There
that.
is
I buy
no
that.
bigger character than Jose Mourinho.
Yeah, I buy that.
He is the main character. Now,
I just don't like him.
you can't argue with it.
He has to be 4 for me. He's higher than Klopp for sure.
He
and
broke
I
the
think there's a
record for
distance
the
between that
most
as well.
points in a
Quality
season
of
in the
manager.
Premier League history as well.
Trying to think of
Yeah,
how I can
and
justify
don't
my
forget the
personal
15 goal
agenda.
season, by the way. They won a league title, conceding 50. That's crazy. 15 league goals all season. Back-to-back league titles as well in his first year. First 2 years as a manager, you won back-to-back in Premier League. And that's in the peak Wenger, Fergie's era as well. To do that, I mean, I don't think... Was there any other manager to win back-to-back in the Fergie and Wenger era? Apart from Mourinho.
No. He stopped them. He stopped them doing that.
Yeah. So there you go. For me, Mourinho's over Klopp, and I think there's this distance there for sure. And I think we go to number 3 now. I mean, unless you want to change Alex and you want to swap Mourinho and Klopp.
I'm happy. I wasn't my being wedded to that is liking Klopp so much and disliking
Of course.
Mourinho so
Very
much
lovely
and
person.
loving
Lovely
Pep so
smile.
much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'll
He's
I'll
good,
hold
good
that.
fist bumps on that. But I will
hold
say
that.
one thing though is, I know you mentioned the whole if Klopp is high on the list, people say because you want a title in Pep's era. Say if this year Arsenal go and win a league title, does it become less special?
Of course it does. Of course it does.
And that's crazy because Liverpool fans they're breaking their
But
screens
that's
right now
why
and they're
they-
scousing
No,
out as much as they can.
that's
And go,
Scousing out.
you can't make it an adjective.
do you know what I mean?
Scousing. Could you just do an example of scousing out for us, please, Bhavs?
Yeah, of course. The Jamie Carragher screaming wheels like, yeah, of course.
No, but that's why
I mean,
that's why
yeah.
Carragher hates Mikel Arteta so much. That's why Liverpool fans have this rivalry with Arsenal, because factually, Mikel Arteta will in half the time equal Klopp's record in the Premier League. It destroys any argument of them putting him in some of the top manager conversations. It does.
Yeah, and I think what I'll say is, if we were to base it off the quality of team they produced, Klopp would be 1 or 2. Like that's how good that Liverpool side was. But we're talking about the managerial career as a Liverpool manager, and I
But
think
doesn't that make, because if we're isolating the manager, and I'm not
Of
asking
course,
to
if his
change it, but
coaching
doesn't
ability-
that isolate
I
the
think-
manager's job then to say
Did he
he's done
change
his
the
job
Premier
better?
League? Hold on.
that's
I've got a
why-
point that destroys it all. Did he change the Premier League?
oh,
No, I do.
I mean, you could say he didn't change it, but he
He
did help
helped
it.
it, but he didn't change it. All four of
I'd
these
say he
managers
actually-
have changed the Premier League. Pep is undoubted. Ferguson's undoubted.
Has Mourinho
Of course, he
changed the Premier
changed the
League?
Premier League. He made Chelsea that were from
I'm talking about tactically. I'm not
course
talking
he
about
did.
in the quotes and
Chelsea?
the numbers. But
the 15-goal season. Of course, he did. He was the first.
to be fair, I think he was one of the first to play a 4-3-3. I'm pretty
I
sure.
don't know about that, but he definitely was one of the first managers to play ugly and win. Everything up until that point.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so.
Was
But I think the rest of the managers here, they've won well by playing real football. So Mourinho is different, but he's also 3 league titles. That is a joint second, or joint third, with obviously Arsene Wenger. So yeah, for me, Mourinho's 4th. Now, of course, Chelsea fans will be going, why is Mourinho in 4th? And I'm guessing 3rd for both of you guys is the same person, Mikel Arteta. It's Arsene
Big Sam.
Wenger.
Big
Right,
Sam.
Arsene. I thought you'd put Big Sam there. Yeah, when I was hearing that, Alex, you're like, yeah, my list is rogue. I'm like, yeah, Big Sam is in the top 5. Arsene Wenger for me is 3rd over Jose Mourinho, and that's a real debate to have it because it's always a debate. You know, Mourinho won the same amount of league titles in less time, but of course Wenger had more consistency. I'd say more iconic moments. Mourinho's very iconic as well, by the way. But in the Premier League, and also the achievement, and in Sir Alex Ferguson's words, the greatest achievement in Premier
if
League
it's so
history.
easy, mate,
Unbeaten.
like genuinely, if it's so easy as rivals make it out, why have the better managers and the better teams, in their own words, never been able to do it? In modern times, why?
Yeah, and
The fact that he called it as well, that's mad.
Yeah.
Do you know
Yeah, the
how
players didn't believe it, by the way.
utterly
The players could.
G you have to be to be a foreigner, by the way, not accepted by English media who are xenophobic at the time. Just remember that. Came from Japan, and they still
are, mate.
Yeah, but to call and say, yes, I will win the Premier League unbeaten, and to do it.
No, Klopp didn't say it. Klopp didn't say it.
It's just, no, look, you know what? This is one time where I'm probably biased, and it's just Arsene Wenger for me is my football idol. He does more than just the trophies. He changed the entire culture of English football. Like, as a whole, no matter what you say about this manager, who maybe is more successful in half the time, he didn't change sports science to the degree it was. We went from a culture of drinking to essentially modernizing the game because of Arsene Wenger. That was because of him. It wasn't because of any other manager. It wasn't because of Ferguson. That has to count for something. Then you start saying, okay, the Invincibles. Is it an achievement that any team has been able to replicate? It isn't. So when I talk about things that can be replicated, yeah, you can win leagues, but if they're tied, for me, in physical numbers, I take it to the manager that has done more things that hasn't been done in the Premier League. That is revolutionizing it. That is sports science. That is creating an achievement in an invincible season, no matter how everybody wants to cry about it, still has not been repeated and is yet to even come close.
Yeah. And I think you can't even underestimate the post-Emirates, since getting the Emirates, how he's able to get Arsenal, that era of getting us Champions League football where we had, some of the worst players I've ever seen, and you constantly get third and fourth and try to compete, but always fall short without any sort of budget. We've seen, I think, the net spend and all that type of stuff. I definitely put Wenger over Mourinho. I think that's not really as much a debate for me. And any debate that Mourinho has might be overall career outside of the Premier League.
Can I show you guys something?
Arsene Wenger, impact.
Can I show you guys something with Arsene Wenger? So from 2005, so let's go post-invincible seasons. From 05 to 06, they lost Vieira. 06 to 07, they lost Ashley Cole. 07 to 08, they lost Henry and Youngberg. From 08 to 09, they lost Adebayor. From 09 to 010 was the only season they didn't lose a major player. Then from 10 and 11, they lost Fabregas, Nasri, and 2012, Van Persie. Between people, when people say that the actual coaching that Arsene Wenger was able to do, losing that quality of player, are people deeping the names that I'm saying right now? Vieira, Adebayor, who at the time was a complete winner. I mean, he was the one that really changed the whole kind of Man City era. You look at Fabregas, you look at Van Persie, Ashley Cole. These are not little boy names. These are names that I think people argue as the best in their position in the Premier League.
Yeah, it's like Pep losing De Bruyne this summer, Rodri the next, Haaland the next.
It's just, and I would argue as a pure coach, how many players has Wenger made? If we're talking coach, ignore achievements now. We're actually talking as a pure coach. Lilian Thuram, Henry, what he did with players that were obscure and made into greats. I don't think there's been a better coaching resume than Arsene Wenger.
I agree. I think that for me is the 3 to 5 sorted. I'd say Wenger third, Mourinho fourth, Klopp fifth. Now let's have a real debate, which for me isn't as much as debate because I know what Alex is going to say. Expected this and that and field tilt, blah, blah, blah. Who talks about that nowadays? Number 2 for me is Pep, under Sir Alex Ferguson, and I'm pretty sure George agrees as well. So Alex, I need you to debate why I should change my mind and put Pep over Fergie without using the word field tilt.
Because Pep Guardiola has won on ball tilt every single year. Look, Ferguson is a great of the Premier League, and putting him second isn't to say he's rubbish. Like, it's to say he's the second best Premier League manager of all time. That is an incredible achievement, and he did so much for the league. But we have to consider the conditions of the league when the two were in it. If you look at the amount of money that was being spent, if you look at the competitors that Pep has to deal with, if you really think about it, United probably had 1 or 2 competitors at the entire time that he was serious competitors for the entire time that Ferguson was winning his leagues. He got basically, it's like the equivalent of someone now. Like people talk about with Ferguson with United. If Ferguson was still there, they would have got Jude Bellingham. They would have got Harry Kane. They would have got Declan Rice. That is the club that they were. He had so much power and pull in the English game. that it's kind of he was English football for a long period of time. For Pep Guardiola to come over here, win more in less time in terms of titles per year, in less time than Sir Alex has done, to change the game, to look at the impact he's had in terms of the coaches who are now coaching around the world. Xabi Alonso, Mikel Arteta, Vincent Kompany, all these mini-me's essentially. Where are all of Sir Alex's guys? They're Rio Ferdinand making no sense on a podcast with Jose Mourinho, and they're talking to Mark Goldbridge. He was a cult of personality, which worked at the time. But the skill as a manager, I suppose maybe we could flip it out and say, who is the greatest Premier League manager, as in like manager of people? Maybe you could argue Pep and Sir Alex on a similar footing, because I think people overrate Sir Alex slightly in terms of management. I think a lot was scare tactics, and people underrate Pep in terms of his management of people, because you don't get that consistency out of people year in year out without being a brilliant manager. But coaching, really, we're going to say as well. When Pep was in his earlier years, he beat Sir Alex anytime he came up against him. But the impact, the way Pep plays the game, it's the greatest football we've seen in the Premier League era, in my opinion. So I don't even think it's close. I think on every metric, you go trophies, he's won more in less time. In terms of impact on the game, he's had more of an impact. In terms of the difficulties that he's faced, in terms of the real competition from various clubs and managers and all sorts of stuff, I think Pep's faced more. In terms of, I think every metric, I think Pep takes it.
Yeah, but then you could say the same with Sir Alex in terms of overall league titles, in terms of, just a span from the start till 2012.
He was there 26 years. Pep's been here since 2017.
How many iconic managers in Pep's era has he faced in the Premier League? Like at their peak. Sir Alex went up against peak Arsene Wenger, peak Jose Mourinho, peak.
Because he was here for 26 years.
Right? No, but the point was, and he beat them, as in he always ended the league title after that. There's very few managers now you could argue. And also, the one thing I would say with Pep is that this is the argument Liverpool fans always use against Pep and Klopp, is they go, look at the platform he's been given. Because we talk about how great his team has been, but he's also been allowed the biggest budget, I think, ever given to any manager in Premier League history. And every single year, he's got every single player he wants. He's barely lost anyone. Haaland, you can have him. De Bruyne, you can have him. Silva, you can have him. You can inherited one of the greatest sides we've seen in recent eras. Yaya Toure, David Silva, Vincent Kompany. Then goes and adds his own players, which is amazing, by the way. But he's given the budget for it. Now, I'm not saying Sir Alex didn't spend money, because obviously he did, right? But not at the same level Pep did, right? The only person you can compare to that is when Chelsea, got their new owners back in 2003-04 and Ranieri came in. Pep's got consistent funds. And, when you've got consistent quality like that, do you reckon if you put Pep in charge of Liverpool and with their funds, would they have won more league titles than Man City would?
I don't know, but we can talk about relative spending. And United were the relative biggest spenders. City have also been the relative biggest spenders. So it cancels each other out for me.
Yeah, but I think there's a difference there. I think there's not been a sacrifice.
Yeah, just because the numbers are higher. But that's
even Sir Alex had to at one point make a sacrifice. The likes of Roy Keane and people like that. He had to sacrifice players. Pep's not sacrificed anyone. You talk about Arsene Wenger losing players every single year. Pep's had every single player he wanted. And if you don't get him, okay, we sell him, get someone else the next year.
Because they're winning. Because people want to stay there. And he makes them want to stay there.
The one thing that I'll say is I think that as a pure coach, if we look at the coaching impact of Pep Guardiola and Sir Alex Ferguson, one will talk about on the pitch and one will talk about on and off the pitch. And I think with Sir Alex Ferguson, the issue that I've got is it's very close right now for me in my head. And Pep has got to the point that he's chatting to him. Say he does something like a treble this year, or say he does another Champions League, it starts becoming a conversation. But the one thing that I think will be a stain on the record is this 115 charges that prove over the span of his career in achieving these trophies has been done by cheating the league, fundamentally. And it was in order to get players that allowed him to get these records. Now, it's going to be unfair, because I think as a pure coach, he's somebody that probably deserves a lot of the praise in terms of coaching teams up to a certain level. But just Sir Alex Ferguson has also, people forget, he changed his team and his idea and his philosophy so many times. He's created a treble. And in those 26 seasons, sure, not only has he had great success, but he's been great in Europe. He's been great in terms of the FA Cup, 34 trophies in total. It's very difficult to outdo history. in the present moment when your present moment is marred by cheating a bit. And so I think it's difficult. Even if he was able to maybe do another treble, you're starting to ask yourself, well, what achievement has Ferguson done that Pep hasn't been able to do better? And I think from total points per match, like Pep is quite clearly ahead of Sir Alex Ferguson if you actually look at the points achieved.
I will look.
So
I will say the one thing that I think Pep is the better coach by a country mile. I agree, right? And if you put Pep versus Sir Alex now, it might be a different story. But I think with the amount of managers that are on this list that Ferguson's outdone, like he's beat them one-on-one, right, in a battle. That for me, it just most amount of league titles. I think he's the most iconic manager in Premier League history as well. And that overall consistency, that also the rebuilds.
that's what
Pep's
I mean.
had, I'd say, 1-2 rebuilds. So constantly Sir Alex has rebuilt time and time again. Where from the Wenger days where, Arsenal won a few league titles and he came back again. Then Mourinho came back again after that, and then he had 3 league titles in a row. I know Pep's now matched that. And I would say one thing, if Pep can get 4 in a row, maybe that edges him a bit higher. But I think just for the overall consistency, Sir Alex had money to spend, but not the same level as Pep. So
I think the argument then basically hinges on the fact that Sir Alex was there longer, which then I think is hard to argue.
it's not just being
from a
longer,
Pep perspective,
it's also the
because
fact that he's got the league titles in that time as well. So I don't think Pep won any titles, but
he got 13. He got 13 league titles in 26 years, right? Which is one every other year. Pep's won 6 out of 7.
We're gonna have to come to a conclusion.
But
and I know Alex isn't budging, and I don't think I'm going to budge either.
Look, Pep, you're not taking away from the coach, but how much do you take into account the 115 charges? Say you're going to prove, because I think it's beyond a shadow of a doubt that they've done something wrong. Whether they get charged or not is going to be politics. It's going to be involved with the government. But like genuinely face to face, like how much of that mirrors the legacy?
For me, it would obviously be a massive conversation, but for me, it doesn't change what that group of players achieved. It doesn't change what the manager achieved. They went out and did it on the football pitch.
Those group of players without cheating?
But you get the group of players through investment, but realistically, yes, there was a great deal of investment, but everyone is investing.
No, but that's
everyone,
the time equalizer,
I think even
right?
Arsenal,
That's the time equalizer.
We have a higher net spend than City in the last 3 years. Arsenal do. So I just think, yes, they, in that initial period and also a lot of the charges relate to up to 20, I think they're from 2009 to 2018. So yes, maybe they position themselves to get to Pep to where Pep is now. But in terms of since Pep's been there,
it was those first 3 years. No, like what this is where I struggle with, because the charges relate to allowing Pep to build the bedrock of his first 3 years. Do you remember how many fullbacks he bought? That was because of the revenue that they managed to achieve allowed them to spend that much. And they went and they changed fullbacks, 4 fullbacks in a year.
I think that's a very important point he makes. It's the platform. Yeah. I think Pep's been given a platform that I don't think any other manager has ever been given in Premier League history. And I think that platform, you talk about the quality, but in those 6 or 7 years, they've also had the best quality of squad to win a league title. It's not like they've ever outperformed or outdone expectations. Every year the Pep City win a titles because they have the quality to do so.
But he's also selected those players to go and do that. He's also picked out the talent. Look, I'm not. To be clear, if the charge is approved, then yeah, that is a massive problem in Pep's Premier League legacy. I'm not taking that away, but I'm suggesting that okay, maybe it positioned him in an unfair position, but he's still gone on to do it. I think the unfair position is still select. He still had to select the talent, coach the talent,
Alex,
put it out there. It's not about, we've seen it. You know how much money Man United spent, and they're absolute crap. You know, it's about the talent selection, how you coach them. So I think the money thing, yes, it would be a problem, but I don't think it's his bigger problem. And also, if we really think about it, you know, how many problems and conversations we had about the referees being terrified of Sir Alex Ferguson.
Sure,
so you could argue, okay, was that a problem in the Premier League, and how much influence he had in the Premier League?
Do you reckon Pep would have as much success at City at another club? Say if he was to move past City, go on a hiatus, come back a few years later, do you reckon he'd be just as dominant? Say if he was at, I don't know, Chelsea or United?
He needs the resources, but so does every single manager. And I think he would be. Look, here's what I'd say. In every single metric that we go here, I think Pep wins. In terms of achievements that Sir Alex did, Pep's matched him. and could go further than him. In terms of trophies, he's gone beyond him. In terms of how many trophies per year, per time in the league. In terms of the competition in the league, has never been higher. In terms of the sports science and the physical levels and the physical demands, the amount of games people are playing, the talent acquisition. Think how many misses Sir Alex has had. Pep had. I mean, I appreciate that.
That's
he was there. He was there for longer. Yeah, he was there for longer. But I do still think if you went, misses per year, I still think Pep would be smaller. So I think in every metric you look at, in terms of impact on the league, in terms of impact on other coaches, in terms of changing the game of football and the way it's played, you go to a Sunday league pitch now. People aren't talking about Sir Alex Ferguson. They're talking about, right, are we going to play with an inverted fullback? The impact that Pep Guardiola has had on English football is beyond description, and I think he's massively underrated as a man. I think
Big D is playing inverted fullback, with all due respect. But no, listen, I think we're gonna have to come to a conclusion, and just out of votes alone, Alex, and I get your argument, by the way, and I'm sure the comments will as well. But I just like we did with George earlier, we have to do it again. This is the rules, my friend. So Alex goes first, Pep goes second, and I don't know if you want to change anything else apart from the list, with Arsene Wenger at third, Mourinho in fourth, Klopp at fifth, Conte in sixth, Ancelotti 7, Mancini 8, Ranieri 9, and Moise at 10.
So the only other 4 we had were Benitez, Dalglish, Big Sam, and Martin O'Neill.
Martin O'Neill and Big Sam can be removed from the conversation. Dalglish.
No, Big Sam. Listen, respect.
Don't remove Bhavs' guy. Come on.
Big Sam.
No, but Dalglish and Benitez are a shout, guys. I'm just gonna say it's.
Yeah, you can't just dismiss that. You need to put.
Okay, look,
I would still put Big Sam over Moyes. I would. I'm sorry. I would.
No, I would definitely not do that.
I'm not talking about quality management. I'm talking about Premier League, just keeping teams up and the consistency of doing that, which is a massive feat.
I'm okay to make this a list of winners and not include grafters.
Did Big Sam ever lose 6-0 to Arsenal? did he lose 6-0 to Arsenal?
He must have at some point.
And Declan Rice scored the 6th goal. Has that ever happened?
He must have.
I don't know if he's suffered with West Brom. He certainly suffered some heavy defeats. I don't know.
Can we put Big Sam as on a separate list of biggest goats of the Premier League, just like legends,
icons,
biggest personalities,
biggest personality of the Premier League.
Did you not see that interview last year of that at Leeds? He goes Pep and this and Klopp's that, but my way of football.
And he goes Pep.
Also,
Klopp,
at what point would you not put? I don't know, maybe not Sean Dyche, but I think Moyes being the grafter, is it being a better graft than Premier League history?
I don't think that Moyes, in terms of longevity, in terms of achievements, in terms of what he's done at clubs.
Technically, he wanted Harry Redknapp. I wouldn't say no.
I think he's in that comment. You got the Moyes, Redknapp, Big Sam.
Yeah, he's in the vibes.
But again, these are vibes. But are we really making a list without Benitez or Dalglish?
That's what I'm saying. The quality of manager we're missing out is very. But you got Ranieri and Moyes here, and I don't think there's the same quality as Benitez. And so
can we please define if Dalglish is going to also include some of his old stuff? Like, there's no way. I can't.
Nah, it's Premier League history.
Okay, so then, if it's Premier League history, then Benitez, guys, he has
over Moyes.
I think Benitez is probably the better manager, but I think Moyes and Ranieri have the better Premier League managers.
They've got more Premier League presence.
I don't know about that.
So, if it was pound for pound, 2 teams being coached by Benitez, prime Benitez and a prime Moyes, I think Benitez wins. But I think in terms of their impact on the Premier League, where their biggest achievements have come and what they've done, I think
I'm going to say this. I think Ranieri is the gigs of achievement where he's part of a great team. It's not him creating it.
Gigs,
I can't.
Yeah, they're gigs,
and Benitez is directly responsible for the success that Liverpool achieved. Directly responsible. He changes the game. They don't win the 2005 Champions League without Benitez.
Yeah, but there'll be 100 stories. If you go listen to Danny Simpson or whatever podcast he's on now, I'm sure there'll be 100 Ranieri stories of him saying
this. Remember the Milan team.
The Champions League.
Are we deeping the Milan team compared to Liverpool? They didn't stand a chance.
But George, this is not managers. Let's talk on Premier League history, right? Let's not change the debate now, because if that's the case, then you have Klopp a lot higher and people.
No problem. Let's do it. Ranieri 1 title and Benitez how many titles in 7 years?
How many Premier Leagues?
Yeah. 0. He's got the same amount as Big Sam.
Then Dalglish. With Blackburn, Newcastle, Liverpool.
So are you that much against Moyes? The guy that gave you Declan Rice, you're against? Have some respect. Have some respect, young man.
Have some respect for Daddy
He
Moyes.
oh God, I can't. I don't. Yeah.
Right.
George is shutting down. George is shutting down.
Moyes has gone now up to 6, just to annoy George. Now, okay, Moyes at 10, Ranieri 9, Mancini 8, Ancelotti 7, Conte 6, Klopp 5, Mourinho 4, Wenger 3rd, Pep 2nd, Sir Alex 1st.
I think that's a decent list. I don't agree with some of the numbering, but I think it's a decent list.
I think it's awful. There's no Big Sam. Anyways, comments. If you agree that Big Sam deserves to be number 1, then please join me in the comments as we roast.
Comment why I'm right about Pep, everyone. Thank you.
Right. Get down below in the comments. Let me know your top 10s.
Liverpool. I did my best.
What did we get wrong?
I did my best.
What did we get wrong? And what other debates do you guys want to see? Comment that as well. And we'll see you very soon.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.